Taking advantage of the trend is the real great wisdom. The general trend of the world is mighty. Each of us is a product of the times, and each long life is just a fragment in the long river of history. People often indulge in specific affairs and lose their way. Sometimes they need to detach themselves from the busy and intertwined trivial matters, look at the starry sky, and examine themselves in the long river of history. This article puts forward 10 predictions of China's economy, hoping to help everyone see the general trend. Due to lack of talent and limited knowledge, the savage presents and shares with you. Understand macro trends, grasp investment opportunities, and choose better than hard work. This article has 10,000 words, it takes 15 minutes to read it, and only 2 minutes to read the bold part. This article is a companion piece to 10 laws of China's economy. The first big prediction is that the world is at the end of a big cycle, the old order is beginning to disintegrate, and the new order is being rebuilt. Economic, financial, geographical, ideological, and other turmoil is increasing, the gap between the rich and the poor, populism, anti-globalization, strongman politics, and geo-conflicts, the Thucydides trap, and the reconstruction of the international order have emerged. To understand the nature and future of current situations such as Sino-US trade frictions, Russia-Ukraine conflicts, and anti-globalization, it is necessary to understand the operating laws behind the economic and social cycles. The basic operating law of the economic and social cycle is: the most important thing for a country's economy is to be productive, and productive determines competitiveness. Most economic hegemony in history has undergone a transformation from productive to non-productive, which makes hegemonic countries and the international order it dominates has a life cycle nature, so it cannot escape the fate from prosperity to decline. The hegemonic country initially served as an advanced technological innovation and manufacturing center, and then gradually transferred the industry to the late developing countries in the form of capital export. The subprime mortgage crisis triggered by the real estate financial sector, the European sovereign debt crisis in 2010, and the banking crisis in 2012, and thus established a series of financial, military, and other international orders that are beneficial to the incumbent. This process is economically profitable, but it will lead to the decline of the hegemony foundation in terms of competitiveness, security, and politics. The deviation between them will inevitably lead to a reshuffling of the global economic and political structure. This adjustment of the old and new order will bring internal and external pain, friction and turmoil. In the past 100 years, we have experienced three phased inflection points of economic and social cycles, which have triggered three major ideological debates, major economic changes, and the reconstruction of the international order. On the surface, it is the redistribution of wealth and power at home and abroad, but at a deep level, it is the pendulum of growth and distribution, efficiency, and fairness. The economic base determines the superstructure. At different stages of the economic and social cycle, different social trends of thought appear on the stage of history. The theory is ultimately to explain and solve the most important propositions faced at that time. 1. The Great Depression in 1929 was called the Big Day of Macro Research. The Holy Grail was the first major debate and division in macroeconomic thinking, and Keynesianism, government intervention, populism, and Marxism entered the stage of history. This stage belongs to the early stage of the big cycle. 2. The stagflation in the 1970s was the second major debate and division in macroeconomic thinking. With the rise of neoliberalism, marketization, and globalization became the mainstream. This stage belongs to the big cycle from the initial stage to the top. China's reform and opening up has caught up with the main rising wave of the big cycle. Marketization and globalization have become the mainstream thoughts. China relies on reform and opening up to catch up quickly. 3. The international financial crisis in 2008 was the third major debate and division in macroeconomic thinking, and Keynesianism, populism, and anti-globalization returned to the stage of history. The economic and social cycle has swung back to a century ago. Since 2008, it has been at the end of the big cycle, the old order is facing challenges, and the new order is opening. We are in the cycle of a century-old cycle. Phenomena such as polarization between the rich and the poor, populism, anti-globalization, strongman politics, geopolitical conflicts, the Thucydides trap, and the reconstruction of the international order are all inevitable phenomena in the current economic and social cycle. The economy, politics, military affairs, ideological trend, assets, wealth, production, and life will have a profound impact. According to historical experience, changes in the global economic structure will inevitably lead to a reshuffling of the global order sooner or later. The only difference is whether this adjustment is carried out in the form of war or peace. The relative status of first-class countries in world affairs is always changing. This is not only the result of military struggles, but also the result of economic development competition. Productive factors such as different growth rates of national power, technological breakthroughs, and changes in organizational forms will all bring about the rise and fall of world powers. The global pattern in the 21st century is moving towards multipolarization. It will become increasingly difficult for the United States to continue to unilaterally dominate the international order. This change first started with the economic pattern, and now the political and military pattern has also begun to adjust subsequently. There are indications that we may be at the end of a great cycle where old cycles and orders are beginning to unravel. The ability of the United States to project global influence has begun to decline, and the old sphere of influence has shrunk, leaving a huge power vacuum. Various new forces have risen, playing games on the ruins of the old order, and establishing a regional order and even an international order with itself as the core. Economic, financial, geopolitical, ideological, and other turmoil has intensified. The author elaborated in the monographs Global Trade Friction and the Rise and Fall of Great Powers and the Essence and Future Evolution of the Russia-Ukraine Situation. The second big prediction is that the essence of Sino-US trade friction is strategic containment, which is long-term and serious. China must clearly realize that development is still the primary goal for the next 10 years, promote a new round of reform and opening up, and maintain competition, cooperation, and struggle with the United States. Do not break the balanced relationship without breaking it, and don't easily fall into the quagmire of geopolitical conflicts. Sino-US economic and trade relations have undergone profound changes. With the rise of China's economy, the industrial division of labor between China and the United States has shifted from complementarity to competition, and the differences in culture, values, ideology, and national governance between China and the United States have become increasingly prominent. The views of American political circles on China, a major shift has taken place, with hawkish rhetoric on the rise. Some people in the United States ignore the facts and believe that the rise of China's economy challenges the U.S. economic hegemony, China's march into high-tech challenges the U.S. high-tech monopoly, Chinese mercantilism challenges U.S. trade rules, China's Belt and Road Initiative challenges U.S. geopolitics, and China's development model challenges American ideology and Western civilization. Since 2008, the United States has made major strategic adjustments. During the Obama period, it proposed strategic eastward shift and return to Asia, trying to contain China through the Trans-Pacific Partnership Agreement, TPP. In the end, the United States was busy dealing with the international financial crisis. The endgame and the Trump administration's withdrawal are anticlimactic. Since 2018, Sino-US trade frictions have erupted and have continued to escalate to areas such as technology, finance, geography, and ideology. Although trade agreements have been negotiated and signed many times, it is clear that trade agreements are not the cards and demands of the U.S. The United States is trying to collect tariff benefits through trade wars and bring manufacturing back to the United States, curb China's innovation vitality through technological wars, obtain more means of attacking China's economy through financial wars, and disrupt the peaceful and stable development environment in China and its surrounding areas through geopolitical wars. Confusing right and wrong through public opinion wars to deceive the people of the world. The most fundamental and essential thing is to curb China's revival and maintain American hegemony. This is the Trump card. After Biden came to power in 2021, although he has significantly changed the policies of the Trump period, especially repairing relations with allies, he has continued Trump's strategic thinking in containing China. According to the laws of economic and social cycles, the real problem facing the United States is not China, but how to solve its own productivity decline, excessive consumption, large gap between rich and poor, populism, Triffin dilemma and other problems. In the 1980s, the main reason why the United States successfully curbed the rise of Japan and maintained its economic hegemony was not the US-Japan trade war, but Reagan's supply-side reform and Volcker's efforts to curb inflation, which successfully restored the productivity and competitiveness of the United States. The real problem facing China is not the United States, but how to further build a high-level market economy, an open system, high-quality development, and innovative development. The trade war is essentially a reform war. On a deeper level, China needs to formulate a new nation-building strategy, that is, in the face of the future evolution of the economic and social cycle and the reconstruction of the world order, to determine a long-term strategic positioning that is beneficial to China, similar to the British continental balance of power policy and the United States policy. Isolationism, as well as China's internal reform and opening up and keeping a low profile externally. China's internal nation-building strategy is very clear, that is, to promote a new round of reform and opening up with greater determination and courage, and to be unswerving. Externally, China's most important diplomatic relationship is the Sino-US relationship, which is essentially a question of the relationship model between the rising power and the incumbent hegemonic country. In the period of transition and turbulence between the old cycle and the order, China needs to maintain strategic focus, avoid getting involved in the quagmire of geopolitical conflicts, balance power in the game of great powers, and strive for strategic initiative and opportunities. China needs to establish and promote a beautiful vision and advanced civilization that are widely attractive to people all over the world under the background of the US returning to the thinking of putting its own interests first, go to the world with a stance and firmly support globalization, under the background of the United States war on all sides, establish a comprehensive and in-depth free trade system with Southeast Asia, Europe, Japan, South Korea, and Central Asia to achieve win-win cooperation and firmly support the cause of world peace and development, in the context of the United States falling into dependence on monetary stimulus, firmly promote supply-side structural reform and high-quality development. Increase investment in technological innovation, high-end manufacturing, new infrastructure, education, and other productive fields, and at the same time appropriately adjust income distribution, let the fruits of economic development benefit more people. History is cyclical, and any country that continuously absorbs the achievements of external civilizations, continues to learn and progress, and enhances its productivity will continue to grow stronger. Any country that is self-sufficient, loses its motivation for reform, declines in productivity, and hinders the progress of the times. No matter how powerful it is bound to decline. Time will give the final answer. The third major prediction is that China's development strategy is undergoing major adjustments to cope with major changes unseen in a century and promote the transition from high-speed growth to high-quality development. This will be the final battle for China to return to the top of the world. China's rapid economic growth in the past benefited from three major dividends: reform and opening up, globalization, and demographic dividends. Now the three major dividends have become three major challenges: reform and opening up into deep water areas, anti-globalization, and an aging population and declining birth rate. China's development strategy is making major adjustments to promote China's economy from high-speed growth to high-quality development. At the end of 2015, the Central Economic Work Conference proposed supply-side structural reforms, reducing overcapacity, debt stocking, deleveraging, reducing costs, and strengthening weak links. The report of the 19th National Congress of October 2017 proposed three major battles: preventing and defusing major risks, precise poverty alleviation, pollution prevention and control, proposed to promote the formation of a new development pattern with the domestic cycle as the main body and the domestic and international dual cycles mutually reinforcing, promote the reform of the registration system and build a multi-level capital market, rely on innovation to promote the high-quality development of the real economy. Do a solid job in carbon peaking, carbon-neutral work, strengthen anti-monopoly and prevent the disorderly expansion of capital, adjust income distribution to achieve common prosperity, implement high-level opening up, and so on. This series of major strategies is the right medicine for the current problems facing China's economic development. Luck is on your side if you choose to do the right thing. Reform always has a cost. As long as the general direction is right, the cost is short-term and long-term beneficial to the stable and healthy development of China's economy. The tax-sharing system in 1994 and the entry into the market in 2001 all had reform costs. There are no perfect measures. Take financial deleveraging as an example. In the past few years, China has promoted supply-side structural reforms, and financial deleveraging has precisely dismantled bombs. It has set up institutional fences to prevent risks in advance and ensured my country's financial security. Although financial deleveraging was controversial in the past, and there were many voices of opposition, but when the financial crisis really came, it highlighted the importance of previous deleveraging and stabilizing leverage, and highlighted the professional quality of reformers and their determination to promote reform under heavy pressure. Valuable will. It is easy to be judged by spectators, but it is more difficult to fight tough battles than verbal ones. Zheng Qiuobin said, "It is always useless to shout and discuss the affairs of the world from outside the bureau. You must enter the bureau and be responsible, and you can hope for success. The author has worked in the think tanks of the State Council and the financial market for many years. Bystanders are not responsible for the results when they make comments, while those in authority have to face the results and take responsibility, so the bystanders are clear when they speak carefully. The honor does not belong to the critics, but to the real doers. Don't use the standards of saints to ask others, and use low standards to ask yourself. The fourth prediction is that China is expected to overtake the United States to become the world's largest economy around 2030, which will profoundly change the global economic, trade and governance landscape. The best investment opportunities in the future will be in China. In 2021, China's GDP will reach 114.4 trillion yuan, 17.7 trillion US dollars, with a nominal growth rate of 12.8%, ranking it firmly as the world's second largest economy. China and the United States account for over 18% and 23% of global GDP respectively. In 2021, China's real GDP will grow by 8.1%. In the same period, the GDP of the United States will increase by 5.7% year-on-year, Germany's 2.8%, the United Kingdom's 7.5%, and Japan's 1.7%. The IMF predicts that the real growth rate of the global economy will be 5.9% in 2021, and China's economic development is in a leading position in the world. The gap in economic size between China and the United States is rapidly narrowing. The GDP of the United States in 2021 will be 23.0 trillion US dollars, and China's GDP is equivalent to about 77% of that of the United States. From 2000 to 2021, the economic gap between China and the United States will rapidly shrink from 9.1 trillion US dollars to 5 trillion US dollars. China is expected to leap to the number one economy in about a decade. If China's economy maintains an average annual growth rate of around 5.5% in the next few years, it will overtake the United States to become the world's largest economy around 2030, return to the top of the world, and enter a new chapter in the global political and economic structure and governance landscape. The best investment opportunity in the future lies in China. China has the world's largest consumer market, 1.4 billion people, the world's largest middle-income group, 400 million people, and the middle-income group will continue to expand. China's urbanization rate, 64.7%, is still 10 percentage points away from the potential of developed countries. China has nearly 900 million labor resources, more than 700 million employed people, and a total of about 200 million highly educated talents. In 2021, there will be nearly 10 million college graduates. The demographic dividend has shifted to the talent dividend and engineer dividend. China's new economy is rising rapidly, and the number of unicorns in China and the United States leads the world. The new national tide is rising. The market share of local consumer goods has increased significantly. Chinese symbols have moved to the international stage, and technology brands have gone global. But at the same time, there are challenges. Sino-US trade friction is long-term and increasingly severe, shifting from factor-driven to innovation-driven, towards high-quality development, promoting structural reforms on the supply side of real estate to achieve a soft landing, coping with the aging population and declining birth rate, income distribution, achieving common prosperity, and promoting social class mobility. Geopolitical turmoil, global stagflation and currency excesses coexist, etc. The fifth major prediction is that China's economic structure will undergo historic changes. New infrastructure, new energy, digital economy, and high-end manufacturing will replace real estate and old infrastructure as new economic engines, bringing unlimited new opportunities. What is the general trend? It is to reduce the profits and monopoly of real estate, finance, education, internet, etc., and the long-term squeeze and cost on people's livelihood and the real economy caused by this, and vigorously develop manufacturing, hard technology, real economy, new energy, new infrastructure, capital market, etc. Great changes unseen in a century are also unprecedented opportunities in a century. It is very important to see this major trend clearly. The 14th Five-Year Plan proposes, systematically deploy new infrastructure, and accelerate the construction of fifth-generation mobile communications, industrial internet, and big data centers. The new infrastructure will help stabilize growth and employment in the short term, and help foster new economies, new technologies, and new industries in the long term, and build a new engine for China's economy. It is an important starting point for both short-term expansion of effective demand and long-term expansion of effective supply. Effective measures for the epidemic, economic downturn, and high-quality development have comprehensive significance in stabilizing growth, stabilizing employment, adjusting structure, promoting innovation, and benefiting people's livelihood. New infrastructure has the imprint of the times. If the new infrastructure of China's economy 20 years ago was railways, highways, bridges, and airports, then the new infrastructure that will support China's economic and social prosperity and development in the next 20 years is 1. New infrastructure for science and technology, including new generation information technology, artificial intelligence, data centers, new energy, charging piles, UHV, industrial internet, and other infrastructure for technological innovation. 2. New infrastructure for people's livelihood, including education, medical care, social security, household registration. 3. New institutional infrastructure, including the development of capital markets, tax and fee reductions, expansion of opening up, protection of intellectual property rights, and other institutional reforms. Infrastructure is a typical public product with strong externalities. It is easy to cause insufficient supply due to free riders and the tragedy of the commons, thereby restricting economic growth. Therefore, it is provided by the government in the current period and benefits from economic growth and taxation in the long run. China is a beneficiary of advanced large-scale infrastructure construction, demonstrating the advantages of the nationwide system. In the past 40 years, the large-scale and advanced construction of roads, bridges, high-speed rail, and airports has greatly reduced the logistics costs of enterprises and improved logistics efficiency. This is the magic weapon for China's rapid rise to become the world factory and world manufacturing center. The advanced construction of 3G and 4G has brought about the explosive growth of the internet economy, and the vigorous rise of mobile payment, new retail, and the sharing economy. China and the United States have led the great development of the global internet economy in the past 20 years. Now China is making advanced deployments in new infrastructure fields such as new energy, 5G, charging piles, data centers, artificial intelligence, and UHV to cultivate new economies, new technologies, and new industries. The author called for new infrastructure from the end of 2019 to the beginning of 2020, referring to the monograph New Infrastructure, and won the 5th Party Member Training Innovative Teaching Material Award of the Organization Department of the Central Committee of the Communist Party of China. The 6th prophecy is that to welcome the new energy revolution, China is expected to overtake on a corner, start the golden 15 years of new energy development and a trillion-level track, and lead the 3rd energy revolution. All previous energy revolutions have promoted the Industrial Revolution and shaped the new international order. In the first energy revolution, the power unit was the steam engine, the energy source was coal, the means of transportation was the train, and Britain surpassed the Netherlands. In the second energy revolution, the power unit was the internal combustion engine, the energy source was oil and natural gas, the energy carrier was gasoline and diesel, and the means of transportation it is a car. The United States has surpassed the United Kingdom. It is currently in the 3rd energy revolution. The power unit is a battery, the energy source is shifting from fossil energy to renewable energy, the energy carrier is electricity and hydrogen, and the vehicle is a new energy vehicle. Each energy revolution has brought about changes in the global economy and governance order. In the course of the first energy revolution, the UK surpassed the Netherlands. During the second energy revolution, the United States surpassed the UK. In the ongoing 3rd energy revolution, China is expected to achieve corner overtaking. As of 2021, China's new energy vehicle production and sales have ranked first in the world for 7 consecutive years, becoming the world's largest new energy vehicle country. The penetration rate of China's new energy vehicle market is entering the fast lane of high growth. From 2021, new energy vehicles will fully enter the market-driven stage, with an annual market penetration rate of 13.4%, and the golden 15 years of the new energy vehicle market is coming. According to the current policy goals and the calculation of the automobile consumption market space, it is estimated that by 2035, the sales volume of new energy vehicles in China will have 6 to 8 times the growth space, and the future will be the golden 15 years for the development of new energy vehicles. 5 major trends in the development of new energy vehicles in China in the future. 1. The penetration rate will enter the fast lane of high growth. From a global perspective, it is estimated that by 2025, global sales of new energy vehicles will reach 18 million. By 2030, global sales of electric vehicles are expected to exceed 30 million. From a domestic point of view, by 2035, My country's new energy vehicle sales are roughly estimated to have 6 to 8 times the growth space. According to the Energy Saving and New Energy Vehicle Technology Roadmap 2.0 revised and compiled by the Society of Automotive Engineers of China, the overall penetration rate of new energy vehicles in China is planned to be 20% by 2025, 40% by 2030, and 50% by 2035. Two domestic cell phone brands are expected to continue to surpass established foreign car companies. From the perspective of sales data, in 2021, three companies including BYD, SAIC GM Wuling, and Tesla accounted for nearly 50% of the market share of the car companies. The sales of domestic brands such as Pen, NIO, and Ideal are ranked 7th, 8th, and 10th respectively. Sales of new energy models on the model side are almost all domestic independent brands. Among the top 15 models in sales, except for Tesla's Model 3 and Model Y, and the rest are all domestic independent brands, and this has been the norm in the past 2 years. Compared with foreign car companies, domestic independent brands have achieved rapid growth in the sales of new energy vehicles by virtue of their design concepts close to the people and black technology, and instead occupy a certain first-mover advantage. 3. The marketization of the industry is accelerating, and the future growth point will be in third and fourth tier cities and other non-restricted areas. From the perspective of demand, the accelerated marketization of China's new energy vehicle industry has 4 characteristics. The penetration rate of first and second tier cities has basically remained stable, and the future market growth points will be in third and fourth tier cities. From a technical point of view, BEV pure electric vehicles are favored by consumers, sales dominate, and the market share remains at 80%. In terms of regions, the proportion of new energy vehicles insured in third-tier cities is higher than that in first-tier cities, and the willingness to purchase in non-limited areas has increased. In terms of grades, the sales of A00 class and B class cars have increased significantly, showing a polarization. The consumption prospects of low-end transportation and high-end technological advantages of new energy vehicles are broad. In terms of users, private purchases of new energy vehicles have increased significantly. 4. People's acceptance of new energy vehicles continues to increase. At present, China's new energy vehicles can better meet people's daily travel, and it is expected to further replace fuel vehicles in the future. The top 10 reasons for Chinese users to buy new energy vehicles in 2020 are: first, they agree with the concept of new energy, energy saving and environmental protection, 52%. Second, the cost of using a car is low, 46.4%. Third, there are tax reductions and price subsidies, 45.4%. The fourth is to pursue a sense of technology and intelligent configuration, 43.9%. The fifth is to try new things, 33.8%. The sixth is to have a demand for car purchases, but there is no fuel vehicle license, 32.5%. Eighth, follow the trend, 26.4%. Ninth, the noise in the car is small, 24.8%. 10th, others, 0.9%. In terms of main usage, 73.6% of consumers choose to commute to and from get off work, about 80% of users often use cars in urban areas, and only about 20% of users use long-distance cars across provinces. 5. Automobile intelligence will develop synergistically with electrification. The intelligent development of automobiles, that is, software-defined automobiles, is the second half of this new energy automobile revolution. It can be said that in the early stage of the development of new energy vehicles, electrification aroused people's interest in the intelligentization of automobiles and led people to explore intelligentization. In the later stage of the development of new energy vehicles, the embedding of the vehicle's own highly intelligent assisted driving, audio-visual entertainment and other software will bring people a new driving experience, which in turn will continue to promote the full replacement of electric vehicles, and intelligence and electrification will surely cooperate development, so that the car will eventually evolve into a mobile smart terminal. The seventh big prediction is that China's urbanization has entered the middle and late stages, and entered the era of urban agglomerations in metropolitan areas. The population will migrate and gather in metropolitan areas, and some areas such as the Northeast and Midwest will face population outflow and Rust state transformation. Urbanization has entered the middle and late stages, and there is still room for 10 percentage points of improvement. From 2015 to 2021, China's urbanization rate will increase from 56.1% to 64.72%. The current urbanization rate in China is higher than the world average of 55.3%, close to 66.6% of middle and high-income economies, but significantly lower than 81.3% of high-income economies. International experience shows that the development of urbanization is similar to a slightly flattened S-curve, which can be roughly divided into 3 stages: the slow development period, before 30%, the rapid development period, 30%-70%, the stable development period, 70% later. China's urbanization has entered the deceleration stage of rapid development. In 2021, the total number of migrant workers will be 290 million, including 120 million local migrant workers and 170 million migrant workers. If the reform of the household registration system and the equalization of basic public services are promoted, China's urbanization rate will have reached about 75%. In the past 40 years, China's urban permanent population has rapidly increased from 170 million to 910 million, a net increase of 740 million, and the urbanization rate has increased from 17.9% to 64.7%, an increase of 46.8 percentage points, which has profoundly changed China's economic and social structure and achieved great success. In the past, China's heavy chemical industry, large-scale infrastructure investment, real estate, and consumption upgrades have developed rapidly. According to the study of population migration in dozens of countries in the world over the past century, it is found that population migration and agglomeration to urban agglomerations in metropolitan areas is a basic law. People follow industries, and people go to higher places. In line with international laws, China's population continues to gather in urban clusters in the Pearl River Delta and Yangtze River Delta. In the past 10 years, the average annual resident population increase in the Pearl River Delta and Yangtze River Delta urban agglomerations exceeded 1.8 million, and the average annual resident population increase in the Chengdu, Chongqing and Central Plains urban agglomerations exceeded 650,000. There is a trend of population outflow. In the next 2 decades, China will increase its urban population by about 190 million, mainly in urban agglomerations and metropolitan areas. China's urbanization has entered the middle and late stages. Although it is still in a period of rapid development, the speed is gradually slowing down. According to the United Nations World Urbanization Development Prospects 2018, China's urbanization rate will reach 70.6% in 2030 and about 80% in 2050. Combined with our forecast of future Chinese population based on the current fertility trend, China's urban population peak will reach a peak of about 1.04 billion around 2042, an increase of 130 million compared to 2021, of which 80% will be concentrated in 19 major urban agglomerations, most of them will be concentrated in the metropolitan area. The new urban population will bring extensive demand in infrastructure, real estate, new retail, medical care, culture, and entertainment and other fields, providing an important engine for my country's economic development. Refer to the author's China Population Migration and Future China Population Flow Forecast Report. The 8th prediction: real estate has entered the era of stocks, regional differentiation will become increasingly obvious, the industry is facing a reshuffle, and the transition from land finance to real estate tax is the general trend. China's real estate market has entered an era of stock from an incremental era. Supply and demand have basically balanced, and most of the central, western, and northeastern regions have experienced excess. According to our China Housing Stock Estimation Report, in 2020 China's urban housing household ratio is 1.09, and the first tier, second tier, third tier, and fourth tier cities are 0.97, 1.08, and 1.12 respectively. The overall housing in China has been statically balanced. After more than 20 years of rapid growth, the era of real estate growth has basically come to an end, and almost all houses have been built across the country. Real estate depends on population in the long term, land in the medium term, and finance in the short term. Before 2013, the increasing number of home buyers in China between the ages of 20 and 50 brought a steady stream of demand for home purchases, which was a basic background for the ever-increasing housing prices in the past. Since 2014, the number of home buyers has peaked and then started to fall back. The aging population and birth rate have accelerated, and the demand for housing has reached its peak. However, the monetary easing in 2014 to 2015, the shed reform in 2016 to 2017, and housing prices will always rise. The inertial expectations of the housing market have prolonged the business cycle of residential sales and construction, and to some extent there has also been a serious overdraft, and the increase in the ratio of households to households has brought about an increase in inventory. In the future, the main demand will come from urban renewal, 20% of the urban agglomerations with inflow of population, affordable housing, and rental housing, etc. In the future, 70% of the urban houses will be oversupplied to varying degrees. Except for the metropolitan agglomerations with population inflows facing a certain housing shortage, most low-level cities in the northeast, northwest, and non-metropolitan agglomerations have already experienced oversupply. Due to the serious migration of population, the degree of oversupply will deepen in the future. Therefore, we must pay attention to the structural potential and risks in regional differences. In the future, more than 70% of urban houses may have excess risks, and only about 20%-30% of urban houses have investment value. The real estate industry has entered the era of stocks, which means that it will enter a stage of reshuffle in the midterm. The degree of tragedy refers to the textile and home appliances of the year. The remaining ones are king. It is estimated that 90% of real estate companies will be eliminated or merged. Judging from the characteristics of indicators such as urbanization rate, per capita housing area, household ratio, per capita GDP, economic growth rate, professional population demand, and housing price-to-income ratio, the current Chinese real estate market has some characteristics of Japan around 1974, but the real estate development stage closer to Japan around 1985. Japan had two major real estate bubbles in 1974 and 1991 respectively, but the first adjustment around 1974 was small and resilient. The reason was that the economy was growing at a medium to high speed, the space for urbanization was still relatively large, and the population of the right age to buy houses was large. Maintaining a high level provides fundamental support. However, the second adjustment around 1991 was large and lasted for a long time, causing Japan to lose 30 years. The reason is that the long-term low-speed economic growth, the urbanization process is coming to an end, and the population of the right age to buy houses is close to peaking. For a long time, under the erroneous influence of the small-town school of thinking of controlling the population of large cities, actively developing small and medium-sized cities and towns, and regionally balanced development, the population has concentrated in the metropolitan area, but the land supply has tilted towards the third and fourth tier cities, and the population of urban areas there is a clear departure between urbanization and land urbanization. As a result, the separation of people and land and the mismatch between supply and demand of land are formed, which are the root causes of high housing prices in the first and second tiers and high inventory in the third and fourth tiers. The report of the 19th National Congress of the Communist Party of China pointed out that urban agglomerations should be the main body to build an urban pattern with coordinated development of large, medium, and small cities and small towns. According to the international experience of the United States, Japan, Germany, Singapore, etc., the long-term mechanism of real estate is urban agglomeration strategy, human land linkage, financial stability, and real estate tax. To promote the soft landing of real estate and avoid hard landing, there is still a time window of the last 10 years. 9 real estate crises have occurred in 10 crises. Most of the previous major financial crises in the world were caused by the collapse of the real estate bubble, and it is difficult for other assets to have such a huge impact. Real estate is the mother of the cycle. If real estate is stable, the economy will be stable. Reference monographs Real Estate Cycle and Global Real Estate. The 9th prediction is that the aging population and birth rate will accelerate, the Chinese economy will shift from a demographic dividend to a talent dividend, and the potential growth rate of the economy will decline, which will bring about profound changes in the economic and social structure. Aging is accelerating. The baby boomers of 1962 to 1976 are leaving the labor force and entering an aging population. In 2021, the population aged 60 and over and 65 and over will account for 18.9% and 14.2% of the national population, an increase of 0.2 and 0.7 percentage points from 2020, respectively. The speed and scale of China's population aging are unprecedented. Around 2033, it will enter a super-aging society, accounting for more than 20%, and then continue to rise rapidly to about 35% in 2060. The population structure will undergo great changes in a century, pyramid column inverted pyramid. The birth rate in China is accelerating, and the birth rate in China continues to drop sharply. The birth population in 2019, 2020, and 2021 will be 14.65 million, 12 million, and 10.62 million, respectively. In 2021, the total fertility rate will drop to 1.15, which is not only lower than that of almost all countries in the world, but also much lower than that of Japan, which has a severe birth rate and aging population, and more than 50% lower than that of Europe and the United States. The number of women of childbearing age has decreased significantly. From 2016 to 2019, the number of women of childbearing age aged 15 to 49 decreased by 491, 398, 7.15 and 5.02 million respectively. Changes in the concept of marriage and childbirth among young people, high parenting costs, and fierce social competition have led to a decline in the marriage rate, an increase in the divorce rate, a delay in the age of first marriage, an increase in unmarried, DINK, unmarried cohabitation, illegitimate births, and family miniaturization. The demographic dividend is getting farther and farther away, the labor force is decreasing, labor costs are rising, and the potential economic growth rate is declining. The demographic dividend has turned to the talent dividend, and there will be nearly 10 million college graduates in 2021. Encouraging childbearing, prolonging retirement, strengthening the supply of inclusive child care services, and protecting women's employment rights are the general trend. In the future, the demand for medicine, elderly care, medical care, artificial intelligence, etc. will increase, and they will all be big tracks. In recent years, the author has devoted himself to the study of population and fertility issues. In the second half of 2020, he proposed it is time to let go of the third child, which has been read by 600 million people on the whole network, triggering extensive social discussions and moving towards social consensus and public policy. Together with Mr. Liang Jianzhang, Huang Wenzheng, He Yafu, etc., he initiated the establishment of the Population Public Welfare Organization to independently and objectively study China's population issues. Refer to China Population Situation Analysis Report, China Population Forecast Report, China Marriage and Family Report, China Childbirth Cost Report. The 10th prediction, China's economy starts the second growth curve, from high-speed growth to high-quality development, will create wealth opportunities completely different from the past, embrace new economy, new technology, new model, new consumption, new youth, face the future, a heavy position in the future will yield rich returns. Investment is investing in the future. Every era has opportunities that belong to every era. The world will eventually belong to rational optimists. This is a philosophical proposition. China is the largest consumer market in the world, and it has given birth to a large number of world-class opportunities. With a population of 1.4 billion and a middle-income group of 400 million, the huge market and scale effect, about 740 million people in Europe, about 330 million people in the United States, and about 130 million people in Japan, my country has the largest unified market in the world. Upgrade from housing and transportation to service consumption, buy healthy and happy quality and better life. Third and fourth tier internet dividends promote a new round of online shopping boom, new national trend has become a trendy choice for young people, explosive growth of new energy vehicles, silver-haired economy brought about by population aging, new business models see change, people's livelihood, social security, medical care, education, culture, and sports are continuously improved, laying the foundation for the advent of the new consumption era. Technology is changing the world, and China is increasing R&D spending. In 2021, R&D expenditures will be 2,786.4 billion yuan, an increase of 14.2% over the previous year, and the growth rate will be 4 percentage points faster than that of the previous year. R&D expenditures will account for 2.44% of GDP, which is close to that of the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD, countries, before the epidemic, average level of 2.47%. The capital market ushered in great development. In the past, the bank-led financial system supported high economic growth led by real estate, heavy chemical industry, and infrastructure. In the future, the country will vigorously develop the capital market to support technological innovation and high-quality development. In November 2018, it announced the establishment of a Science and Technology Innovation Board and a pilot registration system. In July 2019, the Science and Technology Innovation Board opened. In March 2020, the new securities law was officially implemented. In April 2020, the GEM registration system was passed. In March 2022, the government work report proposed to fully implement the registration system. Looking at the world, China is one of the most dynamic economies in the world, the United States is anti-globalization, the population of Europe and Japan is aging, the Middle East is full of wars, and Africa has not yet embarked on a modern journey. Although there have been twists and turns, after more than 40 years of reform and opening up, China's economic and social development has achieved great miracles that have attracted worldwide attention, providing those talented young people with a broad stage to realize their dreams. The Chinese economy is starting the second growth curve of high-quality development, which will create wealth opportunities that are completely different from the past, and embrace new economy, new technology, new model, new consumption, and new youth. Looking forward to the future, the traditional economy represented by real estate and infrastructure will be reshuffled, and the new economy represented by new infrastructure, new energy, digital economy, and high-end manufacturing will rise rapidly. Facing the future and holding a heavy position in the future will yield rich returns. Investing is investing in the future, and every era has opportunities that belong to every era. It is a philosophical proposition that the world will eventually belong to rational optimists. The pessimists are right, and the optimists make money. Pessimists struggle, optimists move forward. We have experienced countless wars, crises, plagues, and depressions. In the darkest moments of human society, there are always people who stand up to establish visions, manage hopes, ignite the future, and inspire courage.